With the release of NVIDIA's new super GPUs, the 4070 Super, are GPU scalpers back? Remember how big of a problem this was during RTX 3000 and even with the 4090? Like, people would scoop up these GPUs and then sell them for hundreds of dollars more. I have some bad news for you guys. I was taking a look. This is eBay, and a lot of them are selling for over the MSRP. Now, they did sell out, but only the Founders Edition, not the other 4070 Supers. So if you go and look on like Newegg or if you go to Micro Center, you're still going to find 4070 Supers in stock. But the Founders Edition did sell out. And then when you look up the majority of these that are going for like over MSRP, I'm looking at it right now, they are going to be, of course, the Founders Edition, which I even tried to get one at BestBuy.com when it was released, and it was actually pretty difficult. During the first 5 minutes, I wasn't able to secure one, so that tells me they didn't really have that many Founders Edition there. I did head over to the NVIDIA website where you were put on a queue. I was number like 500 or something like that to be able to get that GPU, and eventually I was able to get it from NVIDIA, but this is a pretty, I'm not going to say rare, but it kind of points to some other models which may be rare. And now let's hear a word from our sponsor, VIP-CDKdeals.com, a Windows 10 Pro CD key. Add to cart, you put in code CC20. This will also work on Windows 11. You want to go into your settings in Windows, change and adjust your CD key, click activate, and now let's go back to the video. If people are already, scalping the 4070 Super, and we know that this one most likely, from reports that we've heard, is going to be the one that's going to be the most mass produced. They're going to be the most versions of it. So you can assume it's going to have the most Founders Editions as well, right? Which are, pretty desirable because of their high build quality. And more importantly, they do start off at the base MSRP, like $599. You have to pay more if you want to get like a gigabyte or an MSI, 4070 Super with like a custom, air cooler or, maybe a little bit overclocked. But of course, it doesn't mean that those are going to perform better than the Founders Edition. It's just that NVIDIA can control the pricing of that GPU more. What does this mean for the other two GPUs that aren't as widely probably going to be available? Now, the 4080 Super is definitely one to watch out for because I know there are a lot of people who actually want to buy that GPU. I know it's $1,000 GPU, but it's $200 less than the 4080 and it's faster than the 4080. So those two facts alone kind of make it, pretty desirable. At least you can definitely know that the Founders Edition is going to be difficult to get. That one, if the 4070 Super sold out this fast for the Founders Edition, that people are going to scalp the 4080 Super Founders Edition like really, really early, immediately. You're probably the same day, like we saw with the 4070 Super, you're going to see these GPUs jump up on eBay and, Facebook Marketplace and different places like that. Because first, the 4080 Super, it does look pretty cool in the Founders Edition, just like the 4070 Super. It has, it's a little bit more of like a darker look. It does look really, really nice. So for that reason alone, I know a lot of people would rather just get the Founders Edition rather than go and pay more for something else. Now, I did see that obviously some other GPUs like a 4070 Super that are like the custom models definitely will have some like pretty high pricing. Like if you look at a 4070 Super Asus Strix, which is going to be basically one of the highest ends versions that you can get, it's going to be a lot more than that base MSRP. But apparently it might even be less than scalped versions of the 4070 Super. And then if we talk about the 4070 Super, TI Super rather, it's such a confusing name, 4070 Ti Super. There we go. If you separate it in 3 different blocks, I think it's easier to remember. If you talk about that GPU, I think that one has a few things going on that make it different from the other GPUs. First, it's not available in the Founders Edition. So right off the bat, it might be harder to find an MSRP version of it. They're going to be out there. They're going to be $799 4070 Ti Supers, 4070 Ti Super. Separated in 3, it's easier to remember. They're going to be out there because obviously NVIDIA has to enforce that MSRP. And while you're going to have more expensive models like $849, $899, you will see the more base models at $799. But you're not going to see a Founders Edition. So is it going to have that same cachet, if you will, the same desire to be scalped? I know some people will pay more for the Founders Edition. I happen to like them. It's my favorite GPU, cooler, if you will, from NVIDIA and even from AMD. When AMD has their reference models, I prefer those over maybe the third-party AIB models. Often they're maybe not going to be cooled nearly as well, but it has gotten better with the newer generations. And some of the other designs have 3 fans and things like that. And then these obviously are going to be, usually a little bit more compact, but the build quality is really high and they look like, serious products. So that's the reason that I like them. So the 4070 Ti Super, there we go. I got to do that every time. 4070 Ti Super, no Founders Edition. Is it going to be scalped? Well, let's talk about the other reason why it might be scalped. It went up in VRAM to 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and you can make an argument that for $799, it's a pretty decent high-end GPU. Like, it's where a 4080 should have been. So it's basically almost a 4080 Lite. It's not exactly a 4080 because it's going to have, less CUDA cores. It's not going to be quite as fast as the, current 4080, but for $799 and 16 gigabytes of VRAM, certainly we've seen worse. While it would be nice if it was cheaper, I don't really think that's going to happen. Maybe NVIDIA, because there's no Founders Edition, maybe they can make a lot available to the different third-party partners. So you're probably, you're going to see a lot from Asus, MSI, Gigabyte. No EVGA, unfortunately. EVGA is pretty much gone. So no 4070 Ti Super for them. They're going to be pretty much, a distant memory at this point. So I don't know. I don't know if the 4070 Ti Super is going to be scalped at all. I'm going to have to really see what happens with that one. But I know the 4070 Super is a little bit scalped. The Founders Edition is, sold out. You're seeing it for over its MSRP on eBay and places like that. And I have a suspicion the worst one may be the 4080 Super. Usually the highest end GPU, especially when NVIDIA drops the price, that gives a little more wiggle room for people to be scalped, I guess. If somebody goes and pays $1,100 for a 4080 Super Founders Edition, they may think, well, at least it's $100 cheaper than before. That's wrong, obviously, and it's too expensive. But I'm just saying from experience what I saw with the market for the 4090, which was scalped, in decent enough numbers when it came out. And then obviously RTX 3000 was a huge mess, but then you had cryptocurrency and things like that. Now the 4090 was an exception because, it does AI, it does a lot of things, and it was definitely the best GPU of the time. The 4080 Super, I don't know. It is the best gaming GPU you can more readily get, I guess, because the 4090 is like twice the price now. Availability went down, pricing went up because of the entire AI craze. So 4080 Super, I would definitely keep an eye on that one. For one, the Founders Edition definitely going to sell out fast, and I think it's going to be scalped. If the 4070 Super, which is more widely available, is already having, these secondhand sellers, I think the 4080 Super definitely will. The 4070 Ti Super kind of remains up for debate. It's a decent enough GPU. Maybe it's $799. There's some room for people to scalp it, but I'm not too sure. With the lack of the Founders Edition, that obviously does diminish a little bit of that prestige, if you will, because the Founders Edition just looks so cool from NVIDIA, and some people do place a bit of a premium on that, and they tend to perform pretty well. So we're going to have to wait and see, but hopefully the market stays stable. Obviously, a lot of this has to do on NVIDIA's end, too. Even though the demand may not be high, they could just be releasing a small amount of these GPUs out in the wild. We have no idea how many 4080 Supers are going to come, for example, how many 4080 Supers Founders Edition. If we knew, then we can make a distinction and an assumption if the demand is high, or maybe the supply is just low. What if they release 1,000 GPUs in the wild and they all get sold out really quick? Does that mean the demand is high? Maybe there were only 1,000 or 1,500 people that would pay for that GPU, but we will really never know without really knowing the full scope of the numbers. But if the indication is there for the 4070 Super Founders Edition, at least, I think the other Founders Edition with the 4080 Super, definitely, I would keep an eye on that one. If you want it, just snap it up quick because it's going to go, pretty fast, I think. And who knows when they're going to sort of refill that inventory. And then Obviously, we've been talking just about NVIDIA, but we can keep an eye on AMD. Nothing new coming out on to match these GPUs, but they could be decreasing prices. Obviously, with the 7900 XTX, that needs a price decrease. The 7900 XT just went down to 749, which is still way too high. I think for that GPU to be more popular, it has to be closer to the 4070 Super, because even though it may still be faster than a 4070 Super in some cases, people might still go towards the NVIDIA side for DLSS and ray tracing performance, which is better, better than on the AMD side. So we'll keep an eye on those as well. All right, guys, let me know what you think down below. What do you think? Scalpers are coming back for this Super generation? Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.